Good morning. Happy Monday.
Good morning. Happy Monday.
Rise and energize, right?
I know. Woo woo. My kids are on spring break, so I didn't have to get up this morning for them. But listen, I'm here for our community, and that's all that matters.
That's all that matters. Showing up, consistency, discipline, all the lovely things.
Well, that's the thing, like being disciplined even on days off, right? It actually really does change your mindset. I need the extra hour. So getting up is actually perfect and it's uninterrupted, which I think is such an energy gain in the morning when you can just sort of like go get some stuff done, like get it done.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. It's funny. I was thinking through like, where am I operating in flow state? Where am I kind of crushing it? What does my day look like from a standpoint of time? And since we started this last week, the hour right after this, because this gives me energy, right? We talk about rise and energize, but this gives me energy. So the hour after this has been extremely productive
Same.
in my day, and it's really kicked me into gear because I'm flowing from this. The coffee, the caffeine's rolling by now. Every time we talk, I get energized because it's just a great conversation. And we're just rocking and rolling. So yeah.
But I'm really proud of you because you took the weekend and like you went outside, you did the thing. It's been cold here. I live in Michigan, so I just wasn't conducive to that. I probably should have forced myself to go get some oxygen. But I was so proud of you watching your stories. I was like, oh, Jim, go get it. Like, go get it for all of us. Like stuck in the house. I was so proud of you.
Well, the energy gain, I had a friend in town, a friend of 25 years, and he's on a very similar level as far as mindset, and he likes to go do the extreme, and when he puts his mind to something, he does it. And he came and he visited, and we visited 5 waterfalls and did cold plunges in all of them.
Did you actually do cold plunges? I partially don't believe you, Jim. I want to see video.
I'm going to post all the videos today.
You better. I was like, there's no way from 1 to 2 to 3. He's not wet. His face looks the same and the energy's the same. I'm like, I'm calling bullshit on that.
I got you. You'll see it today.
Better see it.
But it was one of those things, right, where fear came into my mind. And also, just disclaimer, anybody listening, I'm not like a cold plunge super dude. I know there's those bros.
There's nothing wrong with that. I think it's amazing.
Like, cold plunge. And I'm not. I'm new to it. So I was scared. There was fear. I've never jumped in a waterfall. We didn't know what the temperature was. We didn't know what was in the water.
Cold.
No one was swimming.
It's cold. It's called the ice off the mountains.
Yeah, seriously.
But that's the most beautiful thing about what you're doing. I was scared and I still did the thing, right? And that is where we have to approach a lot of things in our lives now. And we can't let fear stop us. I think for so long, I don't know about you, but I let fear stop me for such a long time. And I had to get to the point where it's like, I'm scared and I'm still going to do the thing. Right? Because it's not going to kill me. Right? Like nothing horrible is going to happen at the end of a cold plunge. It's going to be a little cold. But also with cold plunging, you really have to understand the idea of mindset and allowing your body to feel that cold. Don't fight it. Right? Like you're not going to not feel the cold. And I think a lot of times we get into the cold plunge and we're like, oh God, I don't want to do this. But instead accept that cold, like let every ounce of your body sort of accept the pain almost, but it's really not that painful. It's just cold. How did you feel it? Did you sort of breathe it out? Did your friend understand like breath work as well, along with the cold plunge? How did you guys do it?
So the first one yesterday would have been the 4th time I've ever done it. I haven't done it in 10 or 11 months. And then maybe a month ago I did it. So I'm not like doing it all the time. He went to a sweat house did the sauna, got into it, and got out. So he didn't actually go through the 4 minutes the first time he's ever done it. So when we got in, breathing through it, I'm like, your thoughts create your circumstances, your thoughts create your circumstances, your thoughts create your circumstances. The first 30 seconds, we know you're going to go into fight or flight. So breathe through it. You're not going to die. You're not hurting yourself. And we got through it. And when we first went in, because the first one was small, it was like a pool where, you weren't like jumping off a cliff into it, right? We just kind of floated in a small pool. But he was about to get out again. So it was really cool to just navigate it both. We both did, we planned on going to 3. We went to 4. We did a bonus one. We almost didn't want to do the bonus one. Because we're tired. We hiked. It was late getting home, to the kiddos and my wife and we said, you know what, we're here. Let's do it. We've gone 99%. Let's do the 4th one. It's a bonus. Who cares? That car ride home, you feel great because you did the thing, or at least you attempted it, right? Like the last one, I think I did 3 minutes and the other ones we were doing 4 minutes, but it's like, I did it. I got in, I did 3 minutes. Cool. Let's do it. It's accomplished. I got an energy gain from that, right? And then also being with someone who we can have a deep conversation around alignment. I learned a ton, so I was getting energy that way. I also got energy because there was a lot of conversation that we had where he said, man, you know what? That's brilliant. Or like, hey, dude, you're right. Like that is happening to me. Or I feel that too. And it was so the back and forth, that again, pitch and catch with someone where there's that level of alignment, I'm just through the roof,
It's that yes and moment, right? We talked last week about look on your calendar and think about those people that are energy drains, right? You see on the calendar and you're like, oh God, no. But it's so important to have somebody in your life that yes ands you and isn't like no but, right? No but people we don't tell the dream to. Yes and people we can tiptoe along with the dream, right? We want people that are going to lift us up. So I encourage people to do what Jim did, reach out to one of your yes and friends, right? Like have that conversation. And it doesn't even have to be about the dream. It could just be about life. How are you doing? Check in with those people, especially if your calendar, you're noticing a lot of those people on the calendar. Start to flip flop that. Because really who we spend time with, and this, who we spend time with really starts to shape our reality. And if mindset is so important and we're around people who just gossip, talk shit all the time, or fear-based or but no people, that absolutely impacts your energy. Have you ever had to break it off with a friend or an acquaintance? I know we did talk about having to remodify with a client, but how about somebody close to your life? I mean, we talked about your brother not really understanding the dream. Was there ever a friend that you were like, I don't feel like you're an energy gain in my life right now? And I know it's hard.
Oh yeah. There is, so it's actually funny you bring this up because we talked about this yesterday, him and I. And he was actually telling me how he is not hanging out with this mutual friend, or he doesn't spend time with this person. Or what he actually told me was he was hanging out with a group of people that we used to hang out with, and he was doing the same thing in the same place with the same people. And he was just like, I've grown out of this. He kind of did one of those like look around moments and was like, this isn't fun. This isn't what I want. This isn't adventure. This isn't excitement. This is just what they know. And this is what I used to know. And I don't want this anymore. So he was actually telling me yesterday about a situation scenario where we could mutually agree on that, right? Because, and they're not bad people. Like they're people we grew up with. So it was interesting to hear from his perspective and then relate it back to people that I knew. But yeah, I think for me, and here's the thing, when it comes to people, and this is what we talked about deeply, is just because they don't align with my business venture, just because they don't align with what I want to do on weekends, just because they don't align with the sacrifices I'm making for my family, or they don't understand my ideology around, timing of why I do this or why I don't do this, or boundaries, right? We had a great conversation about boundaries, which actually, not to go off topic, I want to talk about this maybe tomorrow, remind me, but there's something that I did after our conversation to create more boundaries in my life. And I want to share that with everybody in the community.
That's a great tease for tomorrow.
Yes.
I love that. Now we have to remember.
But back to someone in my life. So just because they're not approving or following or pushing me forward with some of those things, you don't have to cut them completely out. Like, I spent time with this person a couple weeks ago, and it was exactly what I knew it was going to be, right? It was some gossip. It was this person's doing this, or this is happening and this. But I knew it going in, because I learned from the relationship that they didn't support me in what I was doing. Doesn't mean I can't blow off some steam and hang out and have some conversations about some stuff that I don't care too much about, but I also don't want to be intense 24/7, business this, entrepreneur this, risk this. But this person, when I was putting together a conference, was that person that was just, no, you can't do this, or you're going to have a hard time with this. Then it turned into, when I started to do a lot of these things and then launch a mastermind group, and everybody's talking about it, and I'm posting text messages about, this changed my life. You run the best masterclass I've ever experienced. This is completely different than the last time I joined something like this, right? And I'm posting those text messages because I've got 22 people in the mastermind. I wanted to get 30. So I'm leveraging true, honest, real feedback, right? Like, I call them credibility posts, testimonials, text messages. And it's the truth. So let's share it. Let's show the transformations. And once they start to see some of that, and the reason why I say they see some of that is because they started to comment on some of those, right? So I know they're watching it. But then they start to come back into the fact of, like, oh, maybe he can do this, and then it's like they start to show up, and then this person wanted to make money off of what I was doing. They wanted to now help for compensation around what I was building. And that opportunity wasn't there at that point, right? Because when I needed the most, when I knew they had a piece of information or education around something strategic that I could have leveraged and used, or just said, hey, this, I have no idea. What can you help me with? How can you educate me on this? They were like, oh, you can't do that, or it's going to cost too much money, or you've never done that, or have you done something this big, or have you done something similar to this? So you have those people in your life, and I just had to cut them out. And what I mean by cut them out is, didn't say anything bad about them, don't think they're a terrible person, but I want to share what's on my mind with people I love, people that give me energy, people that support me. And you don't have to have the education. You don't have to be a massive risk taker. You don't have to be a business owner like myself and speak on stages and do cold plunges and waterfalls 4 in a row on a Sunday because your buddy's in town. Like, you don't have to do all the things that I do, especially at an extreme level. But you can support me in so many different ways, and the easiest level of support that gives energy and hopefully gains energy from you when you give it to someone is encouragement, is positive words, positive affirmations. Like, hey, you can do this, man. I don't know how you're going to do it. I don't know how you're going to figure this one out, Rachel, but I believe you can, and you're going to crush it. And you're going to be that zillionaire changing lives every day. 1,100,100 lives changed. That gives me so much energy, just hearing that from someone else, right? Like, you don't have to, here's the plan. Hey, I've got framework. It's right here. You should do this. Or I want to introduce you to this person who's going to get you on Ed Milet's podcast. Like, you don't have to do those things. Words of encouragement, words of positivity, give energy, and hopefully allow you to gain some as well.
Well, and also be that person. Be that person. You'll attract those other people. And that's what I found the most fascinating was once I sort of got myself out of my house because I was so living in so much fear. I didn't understand networking and growing a community because I was always in high profile jobs where people always came to me. And so to be able to flip that and be that energy gain for somebody and start meeting people that aligned with sort of how I felt. It's life changing, especially if you're only in your bubble and you, right? Like, cause you start to believe the stories that are around you. And a lot of them right now are of lack. And it's like, you can't put yourself in that lack mindset. There are days where I allowed myself to be like Debbie Downer and just like stay in bed or take a nap or whatever it is, just to change that energy. But if you can be that energy gain for somebody else, if you are in that aligned space, you'll be shocked at the people that you start attracting into your life. And that was the most fascinating thing to me. I literally reached out to one person that got me out of the house to an event, right? And now I'm like speaking on stages and doing courses and masterminds, all these things that I never in my brain, like they seemed so far off. And it really just was getting out of the fear of and being open to meeting people. I think for the longest time, I was so scared of people because of the perception I felt they had of me. Does that make sense? Because I was on the radio, so I had a very like public facing job. And when you have a public facing job, people will tell you that they hate you. They will tell you that you're ugly, you're fat, like you sound like crap. You're like, your voice is nails on a chalkboard. Why are you talking to anybody? Right? Like I have all like literally, but you have to also understand that's someone's perception of you and you can't control that perception. I cannot control how I'm perceived. I can control how I react to that moment. And that was right. That was the most powerful thing that I realized was like, oh, wait, I don't have to react to this. How they're like, I'm rubber, you're glue. If you're saying this to me, maybe it's something that you feel about yourself and maybe you should look into that, but I'm not going to accept that anymore. And so when you start to flip the mindset, everything really starts to shift. And I think it just started with somebody asking me, how are you today? And I couldn't lie anymore. Does that make sense? Like you go to your corporate job, you go to work, you do the thing and you lie every day. Everything's fine. Everything's fine. Because you just want to get through the day, right? You just want the paycheck to cash. And then one day I was like, I'm not okay. And it's like this thread that unravels and you have to sort of be ready for what comes after it because that energy shift is insane when you can finally get out of the box and admit like, you know what, I'm not okay. And then you start to sort of shift things like why? Look into that a little bit more. So I want people to today, what should they focus on today? What's their homework? What's their challenge for their energy drains and gains?
The challenge. I like it. Make a list of the last 25 people you interacted with and right next to them, circle or cage. Are these people in your circle or are they in your life causing you to live in a cage? So are they prohibiting you from doing things or are they truly your inner circle and enhancing and allowing you to have the opportunities and get the inspiration and motivation you need? Right. So one of the things that I learned is I can call these people in my life my inner circle, but it's actually a cage if they're not allowing me to flourish, if they're not pushing me up. Right. I want people that are pulling me up, not pulling me down. And my friend and I were talking yesterday about this. I was like, you can't pull certain people up if they don't want it. Think about if you are literally hanging over a cliff, reaching down, and you're trying to pull them up. If they want to go up, that to be able to lift them is going to be easier. But think about, have you ever lifted like a little kid that didn't want to go somewhere and they're just like dead weight? Like it's so hard to lift that person up because their energy isn't flowing that way. They don't truly want it. They don't want to get pulled up. So we talked about like, there's people in our lives that we're trying to pull up right now that don't want to be pulled up, and they're just that dead weight. Like I just think of like a kid that doesn't want to leave like the candy store, right? And the mom's like dragging them out, and they're just like dead weight, right? But that's people in our lives. So who's the dead weight in your life? Who's the person that you've made to be trying to pull up that doesn't want to be pulled up? Who's the person that's never going to give you their hand when you go to reach up and need it most so you can be pulled up, right? And I believe that if they're not in your inner circle, that's, you don't have a circle, you have a cage, because they're limiting you. They're limiting you from doing the things that you want to do. So out of the last 20 people that you've come into contact with, who should be in your inner circle and who maybe is in the cage you're in right now that's not allowing you to flourish and grow? So that would be the homework for today.
Yay! And honestly, just as you're going throughout your day, trust me, since you've watched this, it'll start coming to your head. Just write it in notes on your phone, or maybe like open up a little notebook page and start writing it down. And then also, who are the people that you want to attract, right? Like getting clarity on the why, and then who around that why do you think can sort of help you a little bit. I'm so excited. Yay.
Oh,
Let's go. It's a Monday, y'all. We can do this.
I'm excited to do the list too, right? I'm not just going to talk it up over here. Like, I'm thinking right now, there's a couple people on that list from last week that, yeah. And there's also some amazing people. Like one of my mentors is doing a session with me and Caitlin, my wife, around strengths and this and that, just because it's a husband-wife business partnership, right? It's something I can teach, but I shouldn't teach it if I need to receive it. So that's an energy gain. Like, that's someone in my circle that just is loving on me right now. And there's someone else in my life right now that's not. So I'm excited. Thanks for joining us this morning. As always, we're here 6 a.m. Central, 7 a.m. Eastern, 4 a.m. Pacific time. Rise and Energize Monday through Friday daily. We're talking about what gives us the gains in energy and what gives us the drains. And we'll leave you with this. In that list of 20 people that you're writing down, that you've spent time with, that you believe may be in your circle, trying to figure out, are they really in your circle, or are they a cage for you and what you're trying to accomplish? Out of all those people, who's the energy vampire?
Uh-oh.
Who's the energy vampire that's draining it all? Because if we focus on the energy vampire, we're going to have immediate positive change in the near future. And then we can start focusing on some of the other folks. But who's that big energy vampire that's just draining you from your energy? Let's find them. Let's eliminate them. Get the garlic out, get the steaks out, whatever we need to do for that vamp. But let's get that person out of our life so we can continue to rise and energize.
Yeah, you guys got this. Happy Monday, y'all.
Happy Monday. We'll see you tomorrow.